In this session, we're going to talk about what is copyright. What do we mean by this? Copyright protects artistic expression. And it's inherently about expression. It's an artificial construct in the law which is intended to protect artistry or artistry, artistic expression of various kinds. You might think of an artist as someone who paints a painting, and yes, that is protected. But it's more than that. We protect all kinds of artistic expression. So, for example, books are artistic expression by an author. We protect that with copyright. Movies, also artistic expression involving a lot of actors, directors, etc., but we protect that as copyright. That's what protects a movie or a book. We protect paintings, for sure, that's artists. We think of that as artists. But more than that, we protect dance, ballet, or even improv dance. If someone break dances on the street, you record it, that's protected expression. You may not think it's the same as ballet, but it's artistic expression. It doesn't matter whether it's an improv or a scripted performance. It's artistic expression and it's protected. Some things that are kind of like dance, although a little different, are sports. And sports can be protected by copyright. Two kinds of protection for sports. One, you can have protection of the video of a game. And that's like a movie or a video, and it's protection of the sports, your broadcast of the Super Bowl. But the game itself can be protected by copyright. So rugby was created by an artist. Someone came up with the rules. They came up with the ideas of rugby. And therefore they write down a manual. This is how we play rugby, and this is copyrighted. The manual is copyrighted and the game is copyrighted. So you couldn't play rugby when rugby was under copyright. Today it's public domain, but when rugby was first copyrighted, you couldn't play the game at all without permission. You had to join a rugby league. You had to follow the rules. You couldn't change the rules and make it your own game and call it rugby, because it wouldn't be. And you'd be creating something different from rugby. So there are structured rules of American football or rugby or Australian rules football. They're all original creations with copyright protection. Sports are protected. They're copyright expression. Now, at some point, that copyright might expire, and so karate, it's public domain. There are rules, but the game itself and the structure of the event is outside of copyright just because of how old it is as an activity. Music is also copyrighted, and copyright can expire. Mozart's no longer protected by copyright because it's been around a long time, and that copyright protection is no longer valid, and maybe never was, because copyright came in after Mozart created his works. Other things like news or Google, search engines, YouTube, also copyright protected. Blogs, copyright protected. So information online or information in news media, protected. Magazines, protected. In addition, some kinds of toys or stuffed animals can be protected by copyright. Not all. There are some exceptions here. And we generally don't like to protect manufactured goods, but when art and creativity is the primary purpose or primary value, we'll protect that. And finally, statues. Things that are ornamental, beautiful, structures can be protected. Even if the statue is something like the Statue of Liberty. That's a work of art. It's a big work of art, but it's a work of art. And so that's protected as a copyrightable expression. Why do we need copyright? Why do we need to protect these artistic expressions? Well, one of the reasons copyright was created was to motivate artists to create more. In the United States Constitution, it says the purpose of copyright law is to protect artistic expression and to encourage creative arts. So our goal is to encourage people to create more If we reward musicians, they'll make more music. That's the idea. If we reward book authors, they'll write more books. If we reward people for creating paintings and statues, they'll do more of that. So the idea originally under copyright law was to motivate artists. How long do we need to protect art for? Well, in the original United States Constitution and under original British law and European laws to protect copyright, the life of that protection was pretty limited. For example, in the US, the original copyright law was 14 years, 14 years. And the United States Congress thought that's long enough to encourage artists to create. After 14 years, the work went into the public domain. Now, then they allowed an extension for another 14 years. So you could get 28 years of total protection. That's a long time. That's a generation. So that was long enough. But then we said, well, maybe that isn't long enough. Maybe we need to go longer. Maybe because, we're spending a lot of money to promote these creative works and art lasts longer, maybe we need to go for another 28 years. And so the law was amended, so we had 56 years, 28 years plus 28 years, instead of 14 plus 14. 56 years, that's a pretty long time, but not long enough, because we had some problems, like Mickey Mouse was going to go out of creation, out of copyright protection. So an act that later became known as the Mickey Mouse Protection Act said, let's extend copyright longer. Today, copyright lasts for 70 years plus the life of the creator. 70 years after the author or songwriter is dead, you still have protection. That's a long, long time. And if you know artists, you know musicians, they don't think about what's happening 70 years after they're dead. That's not their motivation, and it's not going to spur them on to create more. 70 years plus life, that's way too long to achieve this original purpose of motivating artists. So why do we really have such a long protection? It's not to motivate artists. That's not what copyright law is about anymore. Copyright is about protecting corporations in their marketing investment. It's about making money and protecting business. Now that's not bad, it's just different. So it's not the original purpose of motivating artists. There's still some of that in copyright law. And the longer the protection lasts for a corporation, the more that art is worth to the corporation and the more money they'll give the artist right away. But really, the goal of copyright law as it's structured today is to protect business and business investments in creative works. So, why do we have copyright law? It's to protect artistic expression. What is protected? Many things. Any kind of artistic expression, including software, which is a type of art. Why do we need it? We need it to protect corporate investments in creative works. We also need it to protect or encourage artists, but primarily the long life of copyright law today is not about motivating an artist to create. It's about motivating a corporation to invest in and build up brands, images, equity, and value in creative works. And so we want to protect this business investment in creative work.